Heartwarming story of a black waitress saving a billionaire's daughter, doctor reveals shocking. Angela wiped down the counter, the warmth of the sun streaming through the neon-lit windows of the diner. As the smell of bacon and coffee filled the air, she thought of her family waiting for her support back home. At just 24, she balanced 2 jobs, working tirelessly to keep food on the table for her mother and 2 younger siblings. With each cup of coffee she served, she believed hard work could turn her dreams into reality. Every flick of the wrist, every smile she shared, and every kind word exchanged was her way of fighting for a better life. On this unusually bright Tuesday morning, a shift in energy sparked as Emily, the daughter of a reclusive tech billionaire, stepped into the diner. The bustling environment captivated her, far removed from the lavish parties and empty chatter of her everyday life. She craved real connection, a sensation that now swept over her like a warm embrace. Secretly, she envied the laughter dancing around the diner. As Emily settled into a booth, her eyes met Angela's, and warmth spread between them like a hidden promise. "Can I get you started with some coffee?" Angela asked, noticing the subtle tension in Emily's posture. Emily smiled, the kind that brought a flicker of light in her blue eyes. "Yes, please. I think I need a first cup of real conversation, too." Angela chuckled, the simple sound of it breaking through the air like fresh bread. As they shared stories, in between sips of coffee and bites of pancakes, the women found a sense of camaraderie, 2 lives intertwined in the fabric of the diner, threading together hope and dreams across the barriers that usually held them apart. They talked about family, aspirations, and the trials that shaped them. In those moments, Angela felt seen, while Emily found solace from the expectations that flooded her world. Before they could fully embrace the blossoming friendship, the phone rang in the diner. Emily's cheerful expression shifted, a dark cloud casting over her face as she answered the call. "No, that can't be right." Her voice trembled with vulnerability. Angela instinctively stepped closer, filling Emily's coffee cup, hoping to ease her distress. "What happened?" Angela whispered, concern filling her heart. "It's my dad," Emily choked out. "He's been unwell." The words hung heavy in the air, and Angela could feel the shift. Their friendship felt fragile, teetering on the edge of something deeper just as dark realities encroached. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As days turned into weeks, the bond between Angela and Emily deepened. But whispers of disapproval lingered in the city, with Emily's parents expressing their disdain for this friendship formed in a diner that was a world away from their own. Angela felt the tension tightening around them, battling with her pride to maintain the connection. Just as she allowed herself to dream of a brighter future, tragedy struck when her mother fell severely ill. Running through the diner, Angela masked the fear bubbling in her throat. She felt a weight, an overwhelming urgency. Emily, observing her struggle, mustered the courage to step forward and offer help. I can help," she said, but Angela instinctively recoiled from the offer, feeling suffocated under the weight of gratitude. The noise of the bustling diner faded, leaving only the sound of thudding hearts and the tension stretching between them. Their friendship was on a tightrope now, swaying dangerously in the wind of doubt and judgment. Would the worlds they came from tear them apart, or could they find strength in each other's resilience? With everything on the line, Angela took a deep breath, her heart racing as she knew she had to set everything right even if it meant confronting all that had held her back. Angela leaned against the counter, fingers trembling slightly as she wiped the surface absently. Fear coursed through her like a live wire, and yet it clashed with the warmth that came from Emily's presence. The constant chatter of the diner buzzed in the background, but all she could hear was the beating of her own heart and the weight of her mother's illness hanging heavy in her mind. "Angela, are you okay?" Emily's voice broke through her haze. She looked as though she was ready to leap from her booth and rush to Angela's side. Angela forced a smile, trying to mask the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. "Yeah, just a little tired, you know. It's busy here," she replied, though it felt like a half-truth. Tired was the least of her concerns, but she didn't want to pull Emily into her worries, not when Emily already had so much on her plate. But the longing for help gnawed at her, the raw honesty of sharing burdens, the solace of simply not being alone. Angela felt the walls of her heart inching open, but fear held her back. She was fiercely protective of the fragile fabric of their friendship, afraid that the dark clouds overhead might tear it apart. Emily could see through the veil of her bravado. "You don't have to pretend with me," she said softly. The blue of her eyes shone with sincerity, an invitation for Angela to let go. "What's really going on?" Angela's heart stuttered. She could see it in Emily's face, the genuine willingness to listen, to share. At that moment, she felt both scared and relieved, like standing on the edge of a precipice. The thought of speaking her truth made her chest tighten, yet deep down, she knew holding back wouldn't make it any easier. Surprisingly, the idea of sharing her struggles with Emily seemed to dim the shadows chasing her. "My mom, she's not doing well," Angela admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's been sick, and I'm scared. I'm juggling work, and I don't know how to keep everything together." There it was, laid bare her worry, her sadness. Emily's gaze softened. "Angela, I'm so sorry. You're doing so much already." She meant it, and the weight of that understanding wrapped around Angela like a soft blanket. "Thank you," Angela replied, tears stinging her eyes. I don't want to be a burden." The words fell softly, echoing her fear of relying on anyone, especially someone like Emily who had her own complexities to navigate. A silence settled between them, filled with weighty truths and shared vulnerability. Then Emily tilted her head slightly, resolve igniting a spark in her eyes. "You're not a burden. Friends help each other. It's what we do," she said firmly. The connection they had forged in this diner felt almost sacred, and Angela couldn't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, this was a step toward healing. Before Angela could process this new layer to their friendship, a commotion came from the diner door. A group of upscale patrons stepped in, bickering over the wait time, their loud voices cutting through the moment like a knife. Angela's heart sank, aware of the widening gap between her world and the one Emily belonged to. It was as if everything they were building began to tremble, fractions of a second stretching into the future. But Emily reached across the table, squeezing Angela's hand, conveying a powerful message that needed no words. "We'll figure this out, okay?" she said, determination lacing her voice. In that fleeting moment of connection, Angela felt a pulse of defiance, a shred of hope that maybe their worlds could intertwine instead of clash. If Emily was willing to stand beside her, perhaps they could fight against the storms that threatened to separate them. Yet just as Angela embraced that flicker of promise, a sharp pain surged from deep within, an unfamiliar sensation clawing at her gut. Was it anxiety? Or fear of vulnerability? She took a deep breath, pushing it aside. "Let's just get through this shift first," she said, trying to regain her footing, but beneath the surface, the question lingered: could they weather the coming storms together, or were they both destined to remain chained to their own worlds, bound by invisible chains? In the days to come, the truth would demand to be confronted. Angela could feel it creeping closer, waiting for the right moment to emerge like a storm ready to break. And as they returned to their routines, uncertainty loomed larger than ever, each heartbeat echoed by questions that remained unanswered. Would they stand strong together, or would life's upheavals take them down separate paths? The diner felt different the next day. A heaviness lingered in the air, a palpable dread that clung to Angela even as she busied herself with the morning rush. She served coffee with a smile, but inside, her worries twisted like brittle vines. Her mother's health was sliding like a ship lost at sea, and every time the phone rang, trepidation gripped her heart. Emily sat at their usual booth, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. "Hey, I was thinking we could have dinner tonight, just to hang out," she suggested, her voice light but with an undercurrent of concern. Angela felt a spark of warmth at the invitation, yet bitterness nipped at her heels. "I don't know, Em. I have so much here." She gestured vaguely to the diner, but it was more than just the work. Dinner meant connecting, sharing, and right now, the thought of being seen felt too overwhelming. "Come on," Emily leaned in, eyes bright with determination. "You can't keep hiding from everything. I want to be here for you, okay? Just tell me what you need." Angela inhaled sharply, the weight of her struggles creeping back. Could she really let Emily in? The idea of laying everything bare felt terrifying but liberating too. "Maybe. I need to figure things out first." She could feel her heartbeat quicken, the tension taut like a bowstring. "Angie," Emily's voice softened, coaxing, "you're not alone in this. Remember that. We're stronger together." With every word, the longing for connection warred with the instinct to retreat. Angela nodded, but doubts roared like a tempest in her mind. She turned away before Emily could see the tear escaping her eye. "I'll think about it," she finally said. Once the shift ended, Angela trudged home under an overcast sky. The familiar streets seemed indifferent to her turmoil. As she entered her small apartment, her gaze fell on the stack of bills on the table and the framed photo of her mother smiling from better days. The sharp pang of helplessness clawed at her. Later that night, the phone rang, breaking the silence. Angela's heart raced. Was it the doctor? She snatched it up, breath held tight. "Hello?" She answered. Angela, her mother's voice, frail but unmistakable, crackled over the line. "I need to talk to you about something important." Angela's pulse quickened. "What is it, Mom? Are you okay?" I'm just tired, sweetie. But I need you to promise me something." A knot formed in Angela's throat. "Anything. I want you to live your life, Angela. Don't let my condition hold you back. Chase your dreams. I want you to be happy." Her words hung in the air like fragile glass, and tears spilled down Angela's cheeks. "Mom, I don't know how to do that with you being sick. It's all so hard." "I know, honey. But you have that spark. Don't bury it out of fear." Angela felt a warmth swell within her, a reminder of the flicker of hope she had felt with Emily. Maybe she could start to lean into life again, just a bit at a time. Perhaps even accepting Emily's invitation for dinner wouldn't be the end of the world. After she hung up, Angela stood by the window, watching the rain fall. This forced a much-desired clarity. She realized that showing up for herself might mean showing up for others, too. But that evening, as she lay in bed, uncertainty still clung to her heart. Was she ready to unburden herself? Could she really allow someone in? The weight felt like an anchor, tethered deep within, refusing to let her drift freely. As night cloaked the city, Angela breathed out a whisper of self-encouragement. "Tomorrow, I'll try." But what would that look like? Perhaps she'd call Emily, or maybe she'd allow the conversation about dinner to blossom into something deeper. The thought was tantalizing, yet the fear of breaking the fragile walls around her heart echoed loudly. One thing was certain, tomorrow would bring choices, and she was ready to face them, even if courage felt like a wisp of smoke. What lay ahead? She couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to shift. Tomorrow, she would make a decision that could change everything. Would she take the first step into the unknown or retreat back into her fear? Angela woke up to the soft glow of morning light filtering through her curtains. The rain had washed away the heaviness of last night, leaving the world outside vibrant and alive. It filled her with a flicker of hope, like a tiny flame that had sparked in the depths of her heart. As she got ready for her shift at the diner, she thought about Emily's invitation. What if this was the moment to open up? Could she allow herself to be vulnerable? With each brushstroke of her hair, she felt a growing determination. Maybe she owed it to her mother and to herself. Arriving at the diner, the familiar clamor of breakfast orders filled her ears. The scent of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon wrapped around her like a warm embrace. She put on her apron, took a deep breath, and greeted regulars with a smile. Yet, lurking beneath her cheerful facade, the tension still knotted in her stomach. "Hey, Angela," called Tony, the cook, his spatula raised in a mock salute. "Everything good today?" She hesitated, then forced a smile. "Yeah, just peachy." The words felt sticky in her mouth, but Tony didn't seem to notice. During a lull between rushes, she found herself glancing at Emily's empty booth. She could picture her best friend there, waiting with a knowing smile. A surge of longing washed over her. She wanted that connection. With a sudden resolve, she grabbed her phone and texted Emily. "Dinner tonight? Can we talk?" The message felt like a stone thrown into a calm pond, sending ripples of uncertainty through her mind. Would this decision unravel her or lead her to freedom? Later that day, Angela spent the minutes between customers contemplating the upcoming dinner. What would she say? How would she explain the whirlwind of feelings twisting inside? She imagined Emily sitting across the table, ready to listen. It both soothed her and made her heart race. As evening approached, she donned her favorite blue dress, the one that made her feel like she could conquer the world. It flowed like a gentle breeze, making her feel both light and empowered. Angela stood in front of the mirror, a fierce determination flashing in her eyes. This was a step, a move toward vulnerability. It was a chance to connect. The diner was quieter than usual, the typical chatter a mere backdrop as she counted down the minutes to her planned meeting with Emily. When the bell above the door jingled, and she turned to see her friend walk in, her heart leaped. Emily wore a wide smile, the kind that lit up the whole room. "Hey, you look amazing," Emily exclaimed, pulling her into a hug, warmth flooding Angela's chest. "Thanks," she whispered, stepping back to meet her gaze. "I'm glad you came. I really want to talk." They settled into the booth, the ambience cozy with the soft hum of evening conversations around them. Angela could feel the knot of anxiety in her gut, but it was mixed with excitement. As they started talking about school, friends, and life, Angela could sense the weight of her unspoken troubles looming. It was time. Taking a deep breath, she linked her fingers together and leaned forward. I've got something I need to share. It's about my mom and me." But before she could voice her fears, the diner's door swung open violently, and a man burst in, his face flushed with urgency. Everyone turned to look, the diner's atmosphere shifting instantly. Angela's heart raced. This was not the distraction she needed. "Someone call an ambulance," he shouted. "There's been an accident outside." The room froze, and in that split second, everything changed. What Angela had been preparing to reveal slipped away, overshadowed by the chaos brewing just outside. In a heartbeat, the burdens of her life were laid bare, becoming part of something much larger than herself. As shocked murmurs spread through the diner, Angela's heart pounded. Could she still take that step forward in the midst of turmoil? How would this unexpected turn shape her evening? The evening promised to unravel in ways she hadn't anticipated, the questions swirling in her mind echoing louder than ever before. Would she be able to confront her fears amidst what felt like a storm? The world outside was buzzing with urgency, but inside, Angela knew the time for truth was drawing nearer. Angela's heart raced as she tried to grasp the gravity of the situation. The man's panicked voice, the urgency in his eyes, it shattered the normalcy of her evening. She had wanted to find the courage to share her fears with Emily, but now everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. "Angela," Emily said softly, her brow furrowed, "should we help?" Angela's instincts kicked in. "Yeah, we should." She didn't know what was outside, but the urgency in the air urged her on. Both girls rose from the booth. Adrenaline coursed through Angela's veins as they pushed past the clusters of confused patrons. As they stepped outside, the first thing Angela saw was a crowd gathered around a car, its hood crumpled like an empty soda can. "Is everyone okay?" she shouted, her voice shaky but firm. People turned to her, faces marred with worry. A few murmured, but no one seemed to know what to do. Angela's gaze found a woman lying on the pavement, a grim expression etched across her features. Blood pooled around her, glistening under the streetlights like dark, terrifying stars. Without thinking about the fear thumping in her chest, Angela rushed toward the woman. Before she even reached her side, she could hear the sirens in the distance, but they felt like they were light years away. "Stay with me," she said, kneeling beside the woman. "Help is on the way." The woman's eyes flickered, struggling to focus on Angela. She was young, maybe in her early 20s, but her skin was pale, and it terrified Angela more than any moment in her life. "Someone needs to put pressure on the wound," Angela called out, glancing back at the sea of faces. A young man stepped forward, hesitating only a moment before he knelt beside her. "I don't know what to do," he said, his voice trembling. "Just press here," Angela instructed, pointing to the woman's side. The man nodded and applied pressure, his face a mask of determination. Angela felt a strange calm wash over her. The feeling of purpose ignited a fire within her that she never knew existed. "You're going to be okay," Angela whispered to the woman, gently brushing her hair away from her face. "You're strong. Just hold on." Emily stood nearby, looking on with wide eyes. Angela could feel her friend's worry, the same fear that surged through her. But there was no time to be afraid. She had to act. As the whoosh of sirens drew closer, Angela locked eyes with the woman. "What's your name?" she asked softly, desperate to keep her talking. "Lena," the woman murmured, her voice barely audible but filled with a flicker of life. "Lena, I'm Angela. You're going to be okay, we're going to get help." She held Lena's hand, squeezing it gently. There was a weight to that moment, an unbreakable bond forged in fear but threaded by hope. Finally, the wailing sirens arrived, and paramedics rushed towards them, pulling equipment from the ambulance. Angela stood up, her legs shaky, heart still pounding. She stepped back, letting the professionals take over, but she didn't want to let go of Lena's hand just yet. As the paramedics worked, questions flooded Angela's mind. What if she had waited to speak to Emily? What if she never had this moment to prove to herself that she could overcome her fears? Emily stepped closer, her voice trembling. "How did you know to do that?" Angela met her friend's gaze, the gravity of the evening weighing heavily upon them both. "I didn't. I knew I had to help." Everything was coming together in a way that felt right, but Angela could still feel the shadows of her own struggles lurking just beneath the surface. The chaos had drawn her into action, but inside, the truth remained. As the stretcher carried Lena away, Angela stood frozen. Would she ever find the right moment to face her own reality? Would Lena's story become a catalyst for transformation in her life? The world around her faded into a blur, and all she could think about was how easily life could change. In the midst of life and death, when would Angela find the courage to save herself? A flicker of understanding ignited within her. The moments of fear might blend together with hope, forging the path she never knew she needed to take. As she looked toward Emily, a new urgency surged within her. She said, her voice firm now. "I need to tell you everything." Angela's heart fluttered in her chest as she looked into Emily's eyes, searching for the right words. The night was spinning, each breath heavy with emotion, each second pressing against her like a weight. "Everything? Like, all of it?" Emily's voice was barely above a whisper, a mix of disbelief and concern. "Yeah," Angela replied, clenching her fists. "I feel like if I don't say something now, I might never find the courage." Emily stepped closer, the noise of the crowd dimming around them. The bright lights of the ambulance flashed like warning signs, directing Angela's thoughts. The incident with Lena had shaken her to her core, a real reminder of everything she had been avoiding. "Okay, let us sit down." Emily led her to a nearby bench, their shoes crunching on broken glass from the nearby accident. The brightness of the spotlight illuminating them felt almost surreal, intensifying the gravity of the moment. Taking a deep breath, Angela met Emily's gaze. "Ever since my dad passed away, I've been lost. I didn't know how to cope. I hid behind my job as a waitress because it was easier than dealing with my feelings." And then she paused, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't think I could handle anything else. But tonight, I saw Lena. I couldn't just stand back while someone needed help." Emily's expression softened, understanding flooding her features. "It sounds like helping Lena brought back something in you, like a spark." "Yes. It was like a wake-up call. I realized I'm not just meant to be invisible, you know? I want to matter. I want to be something more than just someone who fills drinks and takes orders." "Angela, you do matter. You're so much more than you give yourself credit for," Emily said softly, her determination evident. Angela nodded, feeling the warmth of her friend's words seep into her bones. "But what if I'm still just a coward on the inside? What if I'm never brave enough to confront my heartache? What if I freeze again, like I have so many times?" "Then you take a deep breath and start again," Emily replied firmly. She squeezed Angela's hand, grounding her in that moment. "You have to practice bravery. It's not something you just have, it's something you grow into." Angela's heart trembled with the truth of those words. It was tangible, a shift within herself that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "And what if no one is there to catch me when I fall?" "There will always be someone, Angela. I'll be right here," Emily reassured her. But as those words lingered in the air between them, the uncertainty of the night still weighed heavily, and Angela was struck by a realization. What if Lena, the woman she just met, was part of something bigger? What if Lena's fight for life was intertwined with her own struggle for strength? Suddenly, the voices of the crowd sharpened. The paramedics were wrapping up, but in their midst, Angela spotted a familiar face, the man from the crowd who had first approached them. He was talking to the paramedics, visibly shaken. What does he know? Angela wondered aloud, her curiosity piqued. Emily followed Angela's gaze, her brow furrowing. What if he knows something about the accident? We should find out. As they stood up, ready to approach the man, an unexpected flash of apprehension coursed through Angela. What if I mess things up again? Emily's hand found Angela's arm. You won't know unless you try. We're in this together. Angela took one last breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. Could she push herself past the fear that had held her captive for so long? As they stepped closer to the man, a feeling surged in her chest, not just fear, but a growing fire of courage ready to ignite. If Lena had taught her one thing, it was that life was far too precious to sit on the sidelines. But just as they approached, the man turned sharply, his eyes locking onto Angela. You! He exclaimed, recognition flashing across his face, and her heart dropped. What had she walked into now? What would she discover about the accident and herself in the moments to follow? Angela froze, a sick knot tightening in her stomach as the man stalked toward her. His expression was a mix of confusion and urgency. She didn't know him, yet there was something hauntingly familiar about his gaze. She stepped back instinctively, her heart pounding as her mind raced to make sense of everything. Do I know you? She managed to ask, her voice trembling. You don't remember me, do you? The man replied, his tone sharp, almost accusing. We met earlier tonight when you approached Lena. The mention of Lena sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. The relief of knowing Lena was safe twisted into anxiety at the thought of being recognized. She glanced at Emily, who looked equally perplexed, her eyebrows knitted together in concern. I'm sorry, Angela stammered, trying to piece the night together. It might have been chaos, but she thought she had handled herself decently. Did he blame her for what happened? You saved her, the man said, much softer now, his voice breaking slightly. I don't care about the details. In all the panic, I didn't realize how brave you were. Angela's breath caught. That was not what she expected to hear. She had felt so small, so invisible just moments before. I didn't save her. I just did what anyone would do. That's not true, he insisted. His eyes softened further. You stepped forward when everyone else backed away. I saw it. Still taken aback, Angela took a careful step into the conversation, her nervousness shifting to cautious curiosity. What happened exactly? The man rubbed the back of his neck, clearly grappling with his own emotions as he recalled the scene from earlier. Lena was trapped inside the car. I thought. God, I really thought we were going to lose her. But you got her out. You didn't hesitate. We were all frozen in fear. It struck Angela as though he was pulling her into the truth of the moment, revealing layers she hadn't considered. Lena's life had been hanging by a thread, and she had reached out to pull it back. But did bravery really reside in her? You must be feeling something, guilt, he asked, studying her face. After all the chaos, it's normal. Those words made Angela's head spin. Guilt? Sure, she felt it for not being enough for her own hurt, but tonight? She had stepped in when it mattered. Maybe I felt guilt once, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But tonight, I felt alive. Like I mattered. The shades of their conversation were shifting, brushing against something bigger for both of them. The man nodded, as if her statement resonated with him in a way he hadn't realized before. Can I tell you something? I was paralyzed by fear tonight when I saw Lena. I felt so helpless. But seeing you step in made me question everything. Maybe I've been living too small, too cautiously. You're not alone, Emily chimed in, her voice clear and supportive, grounding them both. We're all finding our courage together. Tonight showed us what we're capable of. Angela felt a swell of hope rise in her chest, illuminating the dark corners of self-doubt that often clouded her mind. It was true the night was filled with frailty and pain, but also with moments of resilience and new beginnings. The man leaned closer, his urgency spilling out again. I don't think this is over yet. We should find out what really happened with Lena. There's a whole story behind that accident, and I think it connects us all. What did he mean by that? Sweat began to bead on Angela's forehead as questions spun in her mind. What other layers were hiding beneath the surface? And why did she suddenly feel like they were entering a web much bigger than they could have imagined? Let us go find out, she said with determination, her pulse quickening as the waves of excitement rushed through her veins. As they turned to leave, she glanced back at Emily and felt a flicker of bravery kindle within her. What awaited them in the search for truth? Could this unexpected path lead them to uncovering not only secrets, but strength they didn't know they had? And in that moment, as Angela walked forward into the uncertain night, she realized this was only the beginning. What awaited them around the next corner could change everything. The air was thick with unease as Angela, Emily, and the stranger moved cautiously through the dimly lit parking lot. The shadows stretched and danced around them, echoing a strange blend of hope and anxiety. Angela's heart thundered in her chest, a rhythmic reminder of their mission and the stakes involved. Do you know where to start? Angela asked, glancing from the stranger to Emily, searching for a flicker of confidence. Each thought tangled in her mind like scattered leaves in a windstorm. What do we even look for? The man, whose name Angela still didn't know, took a deep breath. I think we need to go back to where it all began. He pointed toward a corner where emergency lights still flickered, remnants of sirens that had echoed just hours before. The scene of the accident. Maybe there are clues, something that happened that we missed. Emily shifted, concern etched on her face. Clues? Are you sure that's wise? What if the police are still there? The man nodded, his gaze steady. We just need to be smart. We don't have to confront anyone. Just observe, see if there's something that doesn't add up. Angela felt a surge of determination flood her veins. Needing to feel something other than helplessness was driving her forward now. Okay. Let us do it. As they moved closer, they could see the remnants of the accident clearly. The twisted metal of the car lay there like a wounded beast, surrounded by flickering lights and remnants of chaos. Angela's stomach twisted again, memories of Lena in peril flooding back to her. But she couldn't back down now, she had to stay present. Stay together, the man urged, glancing around as they walked. The night was shrouded in an eerie blanket of silence, an unsettling contrast to the earlier chaos. The air felt electric as they approached the scene. Angela squinted, her eyes scanning the area. She noticed something on the ground, a small piece of shattered glass catching the light from one of the nearby street lamps. Over there. She pointed, moving closer. As they gathered around the broken glass, Emily leaned in, her brow furrowed. It looks like it's from the driver's side. But how did it get so far away from the car? The man knelt down beside it, his face etched in concentration. This could mean the accident played out differently than we think. Maybe someone else was involved. Angela felt her heartbeat quicken. You mean a hit and run? Possibly. If someone caused this, they might have wanted it all to look like an accident. His voice was low, intense, and Angela could see the fragments of his own fear reflected in his eyes. What do we do with this? Emily asked, worry creeping into her tone. We gather evidence, the man declared, glancing around to make sure no one else was watching. We need proof before we can dig deeper. Angela glanced around the scene, her mind racing. This was becoming bigger than she had anticipated, a puzzle where they were all reluctant pieces. But what if we find something we aren't ready for? The man looked at her intently. That's the risk we have to take. Just like you took that leap for Lena. Sometimes bravery is messy and scary, but it's also where we find justice. His words resonated within Angela, igniting a chain reaction of hope and fear. What if they uncovered something that changed everything? For Lena, for herself, for all of them. Just then, a low rumble of engines approached, sending a wave of panic through their group. Angela's heart raced. We need to hide. She whispered urgently. They quickly ducked behind a nearby car as headlights flooded the area. Angela's breath caught in her throat as shadows loomed closer. Could this turn into something worse? How far were they willing to go to find the truth? In that moment, as the night held its breath, Angela realized she was standing on the edge of a cliff. The leap ahead could either lead to freedom or danger. What would they discover next, and at what cost? The headlights swept across the parking lot, illuminating the chaos of the night for a split second. Angela felt her heart pound louder as she crouched behind the car, the cool metal pressing against her back. She could hear the rumble of the engines, the vibration pulsing through her body as if the very ground were shaking beneath her. Do you see who it is? Emily whispered, urgency dripping from her voice. Angela peeked around the edge of the car, her breath held tight in her chest. The figures emerging from the vehicle were vague shapes lit by the harsh glow of the headlights. There were two men, both dressed in dark clothing, moving with an ease that suggested they were familiar with this place. We need to stay absolutely quiet, the man murmured, his face pinched as he leaned closer to Angela and Emily. They might be involved in this. Angela felt a shiver creep down her spine. What if they see us? Then we run, he replied matter-of-factly, though the look in his eyes was anything but calm. She caught a flicker of recognition in his gaze, though. It was as if he knew these men. Angela's mind raced. Who were they? She needed answers, but her body screamed for safety. She had been brave up to this point, but fear threatened to swallow her whole. As the men conversed in low tones, Angela strained to hear every word. She caught snippets of their conversation, words like crash and disappearance. Panic clutched at her throat. Was Lena's name among those discussing this chaos? Suddenly, the taller man turned his head, eyes scanning the lot. The moment felt frozen, like the world had stopped spinning. "Get down!" she hissed, pushing Emily further behind the car. The men stepped closer, their shadows melding with the chaos of the accident site. As they drew nearer, Angela's chest tightened. She was reminded of the camaraderie she'd built with Lena and how fiercely she would protect her. That same protective instinct surged through her now. "What do we do?" Emily's voice trembled. The man twisted his lip in thought. "We need to hear more before making any moves. Just, trust me." With bated breath, they waited. The men continued to speak, their voices growing louder. The taller man pointed to the twisted metal of the car, and Angela felt her heart sink. "It has to look like an accident," he said, frustration lacing his tone. "We can't leave any traces." The knot in Angela's stomach tightened painfully. It was one thing to suspect a hit and run, it was another to hear these men admit to a cover-up. She glanced at the stranger beside her, and something in his expression shifted. Recognition dawned on him, mixing with anger. Then, without warning, one of the men whipped around, his eyes landing directly on their hiding spot. "Did you hear that?" he called out to his companion, a predatory glimmer sparking in his tone. "Run!" the man shouted, scrambling to pull Emily along as they dashed away from the car. Angela felt the adrenaline kick in, propelling her forward, her legs moving almost on instinct, but where to? They darted between parked cars, the world rushing by in a blur of shapes and light, the dark figures behind them closing in rapidly. With every pulse of her heart, she knew the stakes had risen. "We can't let them get away with this," Angela yelled over her shoulder, her voice a mix of rage and determination. As they made their way through the parking lot, she felt a surge of hope and fear wash over her. They were onto something bigger now, and there was no turning back. But could they really uncover the truth without putting themselves in greater danger? Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, a risk they had to take for justice. Just then, a piercing siren echoed in the distance, slicing through the night and making them pause. Angela's eyes widened as she realized it might be a police car, but was it coming for them or the men behind? "What now?" Emily gasped, fear evident in her eyes. "Head for the building." The stranger pointed toward the nearby entrance, urgency coloring his voice. As they sprinted toward the safety of the building's shadows, Angela couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on the edge of something much darker than they ever anticipated. What truths lay waiting for them beyond the entrance? Angela's heart raced as they burst through the entrance, the cool air hitting her like a wave. The sudden calm inside the building felt surreal, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just left behind. The fluorescent lights flickered above, illuminating the stark walls and sterile atmosphere. They huddled together, breathless, the adrenaline still coursing through their veins. "What do we do now?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling slightly. The stranger, now panting beside them, glanced around, his eyes darting toward the exit. "We need to find a way to contact the police without attracting attention," he said urgently. "We can't let those men get away, and we need them to know there's more to this than just an accident." Angela nodded, her mind racing. The reality had just sunk in. They had stumbled upon something dangerous, and the weight of that truth pressed down on her shoulders like the thick air of impending storms. "Let's use my phone," Emily said, pulling it from her pocket. "But we have to be careful." As Emily dialed, the tension hung heavy in the air. Angela leaned against the wall, trying to steady her breathing. She couldn't ignore how intertwined their fates had become. It felt like a strange reckoning, each moment drawing her closer to a deeper understanding of not only the situation but of herself. With Emily on the phone, Angela took a moment to reflect. Everything that had unfolded brought forth their shared courage. She thought of Lena, how they had fought for her life, a life that now sparked a chain reaction of bravery in Angela herself. "Stay quiet, please," Emily said in a low voice, her brow furrowed as she spoke to the dispatcher. "There are 2 men we think they might be responsible for a hit-and-run accident." "Yes, we're inside the building near the accident site. They're trying to cover something up." Time slipped away as they waited, each second stretching painfully long, marked only by the distant sounds of sirens as they approached. Just then, the stranger turned sharply, his expression shifting. "I think they're coming." Angela's breath caught in her throat. "We can't let them find us here. Come on, let us find a place to hide or a way out," he urged. They quickly moved into a narrow hallway, ducking behind a door marked "Employees Only." "There's nowhere else to go," Emily said, her voice laced with fear. But Angela held her ground. "No. We're not running away anymore. We're standing firm in this." A newfound conviction surged within her, igniting determination with every beat of her heart. "We're on the right side, and we have to see this through. We're not just bystanders in our own lives anymore." Emily's voice was soft, yet odd. "Let us find out what they're hiding," the stranger added, a fire sparking in his eyes. Together. As they gathered their courage, they heard footsteps approaching. The heavy tread echoed like an ominous drum, threatening to drown out their resolve. Just a bit further, the stranger whispered as they crept down the hallway, heartbeats loud in each of their ears. Then came a voice, matter of fact, cold. "I told you it was the wrong place. We need to stick to our story." Angela froze, eyes wide as she recognized the speaker. "Those are the men," she hissed. Action surged through her veins. "We need to record this." Rushing into a nearby office, Emily switched on her phone's camera. They huddled together, their breaths shallow as they positioned themselves near the door, capturing everything through the narrow gap. The men entered their conversation, their tone urgent. "We can't leave any loose ends. No one can know what really happened." As they listened, Angela felt the resolve solidify. She wasn't just taking a stand for herself anymore, she was fighting for Lena, for every unknown person caught in situations like theirs. This was her turning point. "Everything you've done." The man pressed through the door, his voice taut with tension. "It's about to catch up with you." The scene played out before them, words crashing like waves against the shore. Within moments, the sound of police sirens grew louder, drawing closer to the site. The men turned pale, splitting their attention between the door and the window. "They're here." The taller man growled, the air thick with dread. "Quick! Out the back!" The other man shouted, bolting toward an exit. "Emily, now!" Angela urged as the urgency propelled them into action. They slipped out the door, their hearts racing with the thrill of their shared strength. Just as they made their way towards the exit, the police car screeched to a halt outside, sirens screaming. Angela couldn't help but smile. This was a new beginning, a fervent step towards something that mattered, justice. With confidence surging through her, she took Emily's hand, entwining it with the stranger's. Together, they pushed through the bright lights of the police car, ready to face whatever came next. "We have to tell them what we know," Angela said, her voice steady, and in that instant, as they stood before the authorities, Angela realized life was far too precious to live in the shadows. They had stepped out of fear, and together, they were about to seize the truth that could change everything. As they relayed their account, her heart swelled. This was at a moment of courage, unity, and bright new beginnings waiting on the horizon. Now was the time to change the narrative. Angela knew they would fight for hope and justice together, and with that single thought, she felt an unstoppable wave of bravery wash over her, and for the first time in a long time, she truly felt alive. There was no turning back. They would be unyielding, together. Please take a moment to support our journey. You need to subscribe now to catch every exclusive story that unfolds. Leave a like now, feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about how Angela's journey has inspired you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.